Ibsen uses the first three acts of The Wild Duck to reveal past events, which show us how Hjalmar and Gina Ekdahl's marriage is based on lies and self-deception. Despite this, the family works tolerably well until Gregers Werle turns up with his claim of the ideal. We're taking up the play in Act 4, at the point when past events catch up with the present and release the spring of tragic action. We lead in with an earlier exchange between Gregers and his father.
Well, Father, now we're alone.
Gregers, I don't think there's any man in the world you hate as much as me.
I've seen you at too close quarters.
You have seen me with your mother's eyes, but you mustn't forget, those eyes were cloudy now and again.
But who bears the blame for my mother's unhappy disability? It's you and all these... The last of them was this female you palmed off on Hjalmar Ekdahl when you're no longer...
Word for word, as though I were listening to your mother.
Now here he is, so tremendously trusting and innocent, in the midst of deceit, living under the same roof as a woman like that, not knowing that what he calls his home is built on a lie. When I look back on everything you've done, it's as though I've looked out over a battlefield strewn with shattered lives.
And since you've now moved in with the Ekdahls, I can only assume that you have in mind something against me.
What I have in mind is to open Hjalmar Ekdahl's eyes. He shall see the situation as it is, that's all.
Is this the life's work you were talking about yesterday?
Yes, you haven't left me any other.
Is it my fault that your ideas are all mixed up, Gregers?
You've messed up my whole life. I'm not only thinking of the business with Mother, but it's thanks to you that I now suffer the torment of a desperately guilty conscience.
Is your conscience gone a bit queer, eh?
I should have stood up to you at the time the trap was laid for Lieutenant Ekdahl. I should have warned him. And I had a pretty fair idea then how things would work out in the end.
Yeah, you really should have spoken out then.
Didn't dare. I was scared. Too much of a coward. Can't tell you how frightened I was of you then, and for a long time after, too.
It would seem that fear is past now.
Yes, fortunately it has. The harm that's been done old Ekdahl, both by me and by others, can never be put right, but what I can do now is free Hjalmar from the lies and deceit that are causing his ruination.
In that case, I might save myself a journey. There's no use asking you if you'll come home again.
No.
And you won't come into the firm either?
No.
Very well. As I now intend to marry again, the estate will be divided between us.
No, I don't want that.
You don't want that?
No. My conscience wouldn't let me.
Are you going back up to the works again?
No, I regard myself as having left your service.
Well, what are you going to do now?
I shall fulfill my mission, that's all.
But what will you do afterwards? What will you live on?
I've saved a bit out of my pay.
But how long will that last?
I think it will last my time out.
What do you mean by that?
I'm not answering any more questions.
Goodbye then, Gregers.
Goodbye.
Has he gone?
Yes.
That's what lead to that lunch.
Put your things on, Hjalmar. You're coming for a long walk with me.
With pleasure. What did your father want? Anything to do with me?
Just come with me. We must have a little talk. I'll go and get my coat.
I wouldn't go out with him if I were you, Hjalmar.
No, don't do it, old man. Stay where you are.
What? When a dear friend feels the need to open his heart to me.
Damn it, man. Can't you see the fellow's mad? He's balmy, out of his mind.
There you are, you see. Just you take note. His mother used to have bouts just the same as that sometimes.
All the more reason for him to need a friend's watchful eye. Make sure my dinner's ready on time, will you? Goodbye for now.
My dear Hjalmar, wasn't it a good thing I came?
Yes.
So you saw quite clearly how things were. Now, wasn't that a good thing?
Yes, of course it was a good thing. In certain cases, it's impossible to disregard the claims of the ideal. But there's one thing that offends my sense of justice.
And what is that?
The fact that... Oh, I don't think I ought to speak so freely about your father.
Oh, no, don't mind me at all.
Well, then, you see, what I find so distressing is the fact that it's now not me who is to found a true marriage, but him.
How can you say that?
Oh, but it's true. Your father and Mrs. Thorby are now entering upon a marriage based on full confidence, based on complete and unqualified frankness on both sides. There's no keeping anything back. There's no deception underneath it all. If I might so put it, it's an agreement for the mutual forgiveness of sin.
Well, what of it?
Well, there it all is, but from what you said, one had to go through all this difficult business to found a true marriage.
Oh, that's something quite different, Hjalmar. Surely you're not going to compare either yourself or her with those two. You see what I mean, don't you?
But I can't get over the fact that there's something in all this that offends my sense of justice. It's as if for all the world, there's no justice at all in things.
Good gracious, Hjalmar. You mustn't say things like that.
Now, don't let's get ourselves involved in questions like that.
And yet, on the other hand, I think I can claim to see the guiding finger of fate. Your father is going blind.
Oh, perhaps that's not so certain.
Well, there's no doubt about it. At least there ought not to be any doubt about it. But that's precisely what makes it a just retribution. Your father, at some time, has blinded a trusting fellow creature.
He has, I regret to say, blinded many.
And now comes this mysterious, implacable power and demands the man's own eyes.
Oh, how can you say such dreadful things? It makes me feel quite scared.
It profits a man occasionally to immerse himself in the darker things of life.
Back again already?
Yes, I didn't want to go any further. It was just as well. I met someone at the door.
That must have been Mrs. Thorby.
Yes.
I'd like to think you've seen her for the last time.
Daddy,
Well, what is it, Hedwig?
Mrs. Sorby had something for me.
For you.
Yes, it's something for tomorrow.
Bertru's always had some little thing for your birthday.
What is it?
Well, you mustn't know what it is yet. Mother has to bring it to me in bed first thing in the morning.
Oh, all this secrecy and me being left in the dark.
You can see it if you like. It's a big letter.
Oh, a letter, too.
There's only the letter. I suppose the rest is to come later. But just imagine a letter. I've never had a letter before. It says Miss on the front. Miss Hedvig Ekdahl. That's me.
May I see the letter?
There, you see.
Oh, that's old Mr. Wöhler's writing.
Are you sure, Hjalmar?
Look yourself.
Oh, you don't think I'd know, do you?
Hedwig, may I open the letter and read it?
Yes, of course, if you want to.
No, not tonight, Hjalmar. You know that it's meant for tomorrow.
Oh, please, let him read it. It's sure to be something nice. Then Daddy will be pleased and we'll all be happy again.
I may open it then?
Yes, Daddy, do. It'll be fun to find out what it is.
Very well. What's this?
What does it say?
Yes, tell us.
Be quiet. It's a deed of gift.
Fancy that. What am I getting?
Read it yourself. The eyes. The eyes. And now this letter.
Yes, but it looks to me as though it's grandfather who's getting it.
Gina, can you understand this?
I don't know the first thing about it. You tell me what it is.
Mr. Wöhler writes to Hedwig to say that her own grandfather needn't bother doing any more copying, but in future, he may collect 100 crowns a month straight from the office.
100 crowns, Mother. I read that bit.
Well, that'll be nice for Grandfather.
100 crowns for as long as he needs it. That means, of course, until he's passed away.
Well, that's him provided for, poor old fellow.
That's not all. You didn't read far enough, Hedwig. After that, it's to come to you.
To me? All that?
You're assured a like amount for the rest of your life, he writes. Do you hear that, Gina?
Yes, I heard.
Fancy all that money I'm going to get, Daddy. Aren't you glad?
Glad? Oh, this puts quite a new perspective on things. opens my eyes to all sorts of possibilities. It's Hedvig. She's the one he's being so generous to.
Yes, because she's the one who's having the birthday.
You shall have it all the same, Daddy. You know I'll give all the money to you and Mother.
Yes, to Mother. That's just it.
Hjalmar, this is a trap that's being set for you.
Could it be another trap, do you think?
When he was here this morning, he said, Hjalmar Ekdal is not the man you take him to be.
Not the man.
Just wait. You'll see, he said.
See that I let myself be bought off for a price.
Mother, what's all this about?
Go and take your wet boots off, Hedvig.
Yes, Hjalmar. Now we'll see who's right, him or me.
There's my answer.
As I expected.
Now, let there be no more pretension. If this affair was over and done with when you got fond of me, as you put it, why did he go and arrange things so that we could afford to get married?
I suppose he thought he'd be able to come and go here as he pleased.
Was that all? Wasn't he afraid of a certain possibility?
I don't know what you mean.
I want to know if your child has the right to live under my roof.
You ask me that.
I want a straight answer. Is she mine or... Well?
I don't know.
You don't know?
How should I know?
This house is no place for me anymore.
Think well what you're doing, Hjalmar.
There's no need to think here. Not for a man like me.
Yes, there is. There's a tremendous lot to think about. The three of you must stay together if you, Hjalmar, are to win through to that sublime mood of magnanimity and forgiveness.
I don't want to. Never. Never! My hat. My home has collapsed in ruins. About my ears. Gregors, I have no child.
What are you saying?
Don't come near me, Hedvig. Go away. I can't bear to look at you. Oh, those eyes. Goodbye.
No, don't leave me.
Look at the child, Hjalmar. Look at her.
I will not. I cannot. Let me go. I must get away from all this.
Mother, he's leaving us. He's leaving us. He's never coming back again.
Don't cry, Hedvig. Your father's coming back all right.
He's never coming home again.
You must believe I meant it all for the best, Mrs. Ekdal.
I dare say you did. But may God forgive you all the same.
I feel so I want to die. Oh, what have I done? Mother, you must make him come home to us again.
Yes, yes. Be quiet, Hedvig. I'll just go out and see if I can see him. He might be in with Relling. You mustn't lie there crying now. Promise me.
I'll stop as long as Daddy comes back.
Wouldn't it perhaps be better to let him fight his bitter fight to the end?
He can do that afterwards. The first thing is to get the child quietened down.
Do you know what the matter is? Why doesn't Daddy want me anymore?
You mustn't ask that until you've grown up into a big girl.
I can't go on feeling awful and miserable until I'm grown up. I know what it is. Perhaps I'm not really Daddy's at all.
How could that be?
Well, Mother could have found me, maybe. And now Daddy's found out. I've read about things like that.
Well, but even so,
He could be just as fond of me. Even more. After all, the wild duck was sent to us as a present, and I'm very fond of her.
Yes, the wild duck. That's right. Let's talk about the wild duck, Hedwig.
Poor little wild duck. He can't stand the sight of her either. Do you know he wanted to wring her neck?
Oh, I'm sure he wouldn't do that.
No, but that's what he said. I thought it was horrid of Daddy to say that. Because I say a prayer for the wild duck every night. I ask for her to be delivered from death and all evil.
Do you always say your prayers?
Yes,
Who taught you?
I taught myself. Once when Daddy was very sick, he had to have leeches on his neck. And he said he was at death's door.
No?
So I said a prayer for him after I'd gone to bed. I've done it ever since.
Now you pray for the wild duck as well?
I thought I'd better include the wild duck. She was so poorly to begin with.
Do you say your prayers in the morning, too?
No, I don't.
Why not?
It's light in the morning. There's nothing to be afraid of anymore.
And the wild duck you're so terribly fond of. Your father wants to wring its neck.
He said if he had his way, he'd do it. But that he'd spare her for my sake. That was sweet of him.
Suppose you were willing to sacrifice the wild duck for his sake.
The wild duck?
Suppose you were ready to sacrifice for him the most precious thing you had in the world.
Do you think that would help?
Try it, Hedwig.
Yes, I will try it.
Give you the proper strength of mind, do you think?
I'll ask Grandfather to shoot the wild duck for me.
Yes, do that. But not a word to your mother about this.
Why not?
She doesn't understand us.
The wild duck. I'll try it first thing in the morning. Did you find him, Mother?
No. But he'd gone out with Relling, they said.
You sure?
Yes. The caretaker's wife said so. Molvik was with them too, she said.
At a time like this, when his soul so desperately needs solitude, if he's to win through.
Yes. You never know where you are with men. Lord knows where Relling has dragged them off to. I rushed into Ma Eriksson's, but they weren't there.
What if he never comes back?
He will come back. I'll take a message to him in the morning. You'll see. He'll come. Sleep well. Rest assured about that, Hedwig. Good night.
Yes. Relling was right. This is what happens to you when you get those stupid idiots coming round with their fancy talk of the claim of the ideal. Well?
Yes, Mother, I think it's very likely he's in with Relling.
There you are, you see.
Because the caretaker's wife said she heard 2 other people come in with Relling last night.
I fancied as much.
That doesn't help, though, if he won't come back here.
Well, at least I can pop down and talk to him.
Hjalmar? Hey, oh. Where's Hjalmar?
He's gone out.
So early? In all this snow? Oh. Oh, well, let him. I can go for a walk by myself.
Help your grandfather into the loft, Hedvig.
Hedvig.
Mother, what's poor Grandfather going to say when he hears Daddy's going to leave us?
Rubbish. Grandfather mustn't hear anything of the sort. Oh, what a godsend he wasn't around yesterday when all this business was going on.
Yes, but...
Well, found any trace of him?
As like as not, he's down there in with Relling, they say.
With Relling? Has he really been out with those fellows?
Yes.
How could he? When he desperately needs solitude and a chance to collect himself.
You might well say that.
Is Daddy with you?
Is he there?
Indeed he is.
And you never told us.
I know. I'm a beast, but I had to see to the other beast first, you know, the demoniac one, our friend Molvik. And then I fell right off to sleep.
Well, what's Hjalmar got to say for himself today?
He doesn't say anything.
Hasn't he said anything at all?
Not a blessed word.
Ah, no. I understand that so well.
What's he doing with himself, then?
Well, he's lying on the sofa, snoring.
Oh, is he? Yes, Hjalmar's pretty good at snoring.
Is he asleep? Can he really sleep?
Well, it certainly looks like it.
Quite understandable. Torn as he was by the conflict in his soul.
And him not used to late nights.
Perhaps it's best for him to get some sleep, Mother.
Yes, that's what I was thinking. There's no point in waking him up too soon. Thanks, Relling. Well, I'll just get the house tidied up first and then... Come and help me, will you, Hedvig?
Have you any views on the spiritual turmoil going on in Hjalmar Ekdal?
I'm damned if I can see any spiritual turmoil going on in him.
What? At a crisis like this, when his whole life has been put on a completely new basis? How do you suppose a personality like Hjalmar's...
Personality? Him? If he ever showed any signs of anything as abnormal as a personality, it was all thoroughly cleared out of him root and branch when he was still a lad, that I can assure you.
That would seem very strange after being brought up with such affectionate care as he was.
By those two crazy, hysterical maiden aunts of his, you mean?
Let me tell you, they were women who never shut their eyes to the claim of the ideal. They were... I see you're just trying to be funny again.
No. I'm in no mood for that. Besides, I know all about it. The amount of rhetoric he's brought up about these two soul mothers of his. But I don't think he has much to thank them for. Ekdal's misfortune is that in his own little circle, he's always been considered a shining light.
And don't you think he is? Deep down within, I mean.
Well, I've never seen any sign of it. Whether his father thought so, it could well be. The dear lieutenant's always been a bit of a blockhead.
He's always been a man with the spirit of a child. That's what you don't understand.
Yes, all right. When our dear, sweet little Hjalmar began as a student of sorts, he was immediately regarded by his fellow students as a man with a brilliant future. He was handsome, quite captivating, pink and white, the sort all the girls fall for. And because he was the sentimental kind, and there was something appealing in his voice, and because he learned the knack of reciting other people's verses and other people's ideas...
Is this Hjalmar Ekdal you're talking about?
Yes, it is, with your permission. Well, that's the inside view of this little demigod you're groveling to.
I wouldn't have said I was as completely blind as all that.
Oh, yes, you are. Pretty well, anyway. You see, you are a sick man, too.
You're right there.
Well, then, in your case, there are complications. First, there are these troublesome, inflamed scruples, but then there's something much worse. You're subject to serious fits of hero worship. You've always got to go around finding something to admire. That's not really any of your business.
I must indeed look for something beyond my own self.
And then you go and make such tremendous blunders about these wonderful beings you imagine you see and hear around you. Now you're at it again, coming to another labourer's cottage with that claim of the ideal. There just aren't any solvent people living here.
If you haven't any higher opinion of Hjalmar Ekdal than that, I wonder you find any pleasure at all in being everlastingly in his company.
God, I'm supposed to be a doctor of sorts, aren't I? I have to do something about looking after the sick who are living in the same house as me. Poor things.
Oh, really? Is Hjalmar sick too?
Pretty nearly everybody's sick, unfortunately.
What treatment are you giving him?
The usual. I try to keep his life lie going.
Life lie? I don't think I quite...
That's right. That's what I said. The life lie. You see, the life lie is the stimulating principle.
Well, may I ask what particular life lie Hjalmar has been inoculated with?
You may not. I don't give secrets like that away to quacks. You'd be in a position to mess him up even worse for me. But it's a tried and an effective method. I've used it on Mulvik as well. I've made him a demoniac. That's the particular cure I had to apply to him.
Isn't he a demoniac?
What? What the devil do you think being a demoniac means? Just a bit of silly nonsense I thought up to keep him alive. If I hadn't done that, the poor devil would have succumbed to mortification and despair years ago. Same with the old lieutenant there. Though he's managed to find his own course of treatment.
Lieutenant Ekdal, what about him?
Well, what do you think? Him, the great bear hunter, shooting rabbits there in the loft? But there isn't a happier sportsman in the world than that old man when he gets a chance of raking round in there among all the rubbish. He's collected up 4 or 5 withered old Christmas trees, and there's no difference for him between them and the whole tremendous living forests of Hoydal. The cocks and hens are the game birds in the treetops, and the rabbits hopping about the floor, they're the bears that this intrepid he-man goes in pursuit of.
Poor old unhappy Lieutenant Ekdal. He certainly has had to relinquish a lot of his youthful ideals.
Well, I remember, Mr. Verler, Jr., don't use that fancy word, ideals. We got a plain word that's good enough. Lies.
You saying the two things are related?
Yeah. Not unlike typhus and putrid fever.
Dr. Relling, I shall not rest until I have rescued Hjalmar Ekdal from your clutches.
So much the worse for him. Take away the life lie from the average man, and you take away his happiness. Well, now, my little wild duck mother, I'll pop down now and see if that father of yours is still lying there, thinking about his wonderful invention.
I can see from your face nothing's been done.
What? Oh, the wild duck? No.
Your courage failed you, I imagine, at the last moment.
No, it wasn't that. Just when I woke up early this morning and remembered what we talked about, it all seemed so strange.
Strange?
Yes, I don't know. Last night, when I first heard it, it seemed such a good idea. But when I thought about it again after I'd slept on it, it didn't seem so good after all.
No. You could hardly be expected to grow up here without being the worse for it in some way.
Well, what do I care if only Daddy would come back?
If only you'd had your eyes open to what really makes life worthwhile. If you had that genuine, joyous, courageous spirit of self-sacrifice, then you'd see how quickly he'd come back to you. But I still have faith in you, Hedvig.
Thank you. Oh, it's not much fun going for your morning walk by yourself.
Didn't you fancy going shooting, Grandfather?
No, it's not the weather for it. It's too dark. You can't see anything.
Don't you ever feel like shooting anything besides rabbits?
Why? Aren't rabbits good enough then, eh?
I mean, what about the wild duck?
Oh, you're afraid I'll shoot your wild duck. No, not for the world, my dear. I'd not do that.
I dare say you couldn't. It's supposed to be very difficult to shoot wild duck.
Couldn't? I bet you I jolly well could. Huh?
I don't mean with my wild duck, but with others. How would you set about it, Grandfather?
Well, I should try to shoot it in the breast. That's the best way. But against the lie of the feathers. Not with the feathers.
Do they die then?
They certainly do if you shoot them properly. Well, I better go and tidy myself up a bit. You see, I...
Don't go upsetting your father's things, Hedvig.
I was just tidying up a little bit.
Well, go and reheat up the coffee pot. I'll take a tray of something down with me when I go. Ah. So you've come back then, Hjalmar?
I've come, but I'm leaving again at once.
Yes. Well, I suppose that's all right. But, Lord, you do look a sight.
A sight?
But look what you've done to your good winter coat.
Mother, shut up with it. Daddy!
Get away,
Daddy!
get away. Take her away from me, I tell you.
go into the living room, Hedvig?
Has anybody seen my books? I shall need my books.
What books?
The scientific works, of course. The technical periodicals I use for the invention.
Are these unbound ones, them?
Of course they are.
Shouldn't I get Hedvig to cut the pages for you?
I don't need any cutting doing.
So, you haven't changed your mind about moving out and leaving us then, Hjalmar?
I should have thought that was pretty evident.
Oh,
Can't
well.
stay on here having the knife twisted in my heart every hour of the day.
God forgive you for thinking so badly of me.
Prove to me
I think it's for you to prove.
With a past like yours, there are certain claims. One might be tempted to call them the claims of the ideal.
What about grandfather? What's to be done with him, poor old fellow?
I know my duty. The helpless old man shall come along with me. He shall go to town and the necessary arrangements will have to be made. Has anybody seen my hat on the stairs?
No. Have you lost your hat?
I had it on when I came back last night. I haven't been able to find it again today.
Lord. Wherever did you land up with those two old soaks?
Oh, don't question me about things that don't matter. Do you think I'm in a mood to remember details?
Well, as long as you haven't caught cold, then, Hjalmar.
You're a blackguard, Relling. Nothing but a scoundrel, a shameless rake. I'd like to get somebody to do you in.
There's just a drop of something to warm you up, if you can fancy it. And some bread and some cold meat.
Meat? Never again under this roof. I don't care if I haven't had a bite for 24 hours. My notes. The start of my autobiography. Now, in my diary of my more important possession. There she is again!
Well, heavens above, the poor child must be somewhere.
Come out. I'm to spend the last moments in what was once my home. I wish to remain undisturbed by those who have no business to be here.
Does he mean me?
Stay in the kitchen, Hedvig, or... No, go into your own room. Now, just a minute, Hjalmar. Don't go upsetting those things in the chest of drawers. I know where everything is. If you want to be useful, get the police down.
Oh, Doug.
Well, stop upsetting everything there. Well, they're always kept under control. Now, just stop throwing everything out. No, where are you putting
Look, that old valise is no use. I've got 1,000 things to hump away.
Well, leave the other things for the time being and just take a shirt and a pair of pants with you for now.
Phew. All these exhausting preparations.
Yes, and your coffee's getting cold.
Ah.
Of course, your worst job now will be finding another loft big enough for the rabbits.
What? Have I got to drag all those rabbits along with me as well?
Oh, yes. You know Grandfather couldn't live without his rabbits.
Well, damn, I'll have to get used to the idea. There are a lot more important matters in life than rabbits that I'm having to do without.
Shall I put your flute in the valise?
No, I don't want any flute. But give me the pistol.
You want to take that pistol?
Yes, my loaded pistol.
Oh, it's gone. He must have taken it in with him.
Is he in the loft?
Oh, yes, he's bound to be.
Poor lonely old fellow.
If only we hadn't let that other room, you could have moved in there.
Me? Under the same roof as... Oh, never. Never.
Well, couldn't you shake down for a day or two in the living room? I mean, you could be all on your own in there.
Never again within these walls.
Well, what about going in with Relling and Mulvik, then?
I don't want to hear their names. The very thought of them puts me off my food. Nearly. Oh, no. I must out into the cold and the snow, going from house to house, seeking shelter for my father and myself.
But Hjalmar, you've lost your hat. You've lost your hat, remember?
Oh, come. You can't trust them with anything. Well, I shall have to get a new hat on my way. I shall go to town and the necessary arrangements will have to be made.
What are you looking for?
Butter.
Oh, I'll get it straight away.
Oh, it doesn't matter. You just as well eat it dry.
There you are now, Hjalmar. It's supposed to be freshly churned.
Would I, without being disturbed by anybody at all, that is, be able to move into the living room for a day or two?
Well, you could very nicely, and for as long as you wanted to.
Because I don't see much likelihood of moving old father's things out of here very fast.
There's something else as well. You've got to tell him first that you don't want to live with the rest of us any longer.
Yes, there's another thing. All these complicated arrangements to be revised. I must consider things. I must take a breathing space. I mean, I can't take on all these burdens in one single day.
No, and with the weather so awful on top of everything else.
I see this bit of paper still lying around here.
Oh, well, I've got no use for it.
Not that this bit of paper's anything to do with me.
Well, I'm not going to touch it.
But there's no point in letting it get destroyed in all the upset when I move. It could so easily...
Well, I'll take care of it then, Hjalmar.
Oh, but that belongs in the first place to Father, and it'll be up to him to decide whether or not he wishes to make use of it.
Poor old Father.
Just to be on the safe side, where can I find some paste?
Here's the paste pot.
And a brush?
Here's the brush.
Just needs a strip of paper along the back. Ah, be it for me to lay hands on anybody else's property. Least of all on a penniless old man's. Or on the other person's either, for that matter. There we are. And just let it lie there for the present, and when it's dry, put it away. I never want to see the document again. Never. Oh.
Here, Hjalmar.
I had sunk down from exhaustion.
I see you had some breakfast.
The body, too, makes known its demands on us at times.
What have you decided to do?
For a man like me, there's but one way open. I am in the process now of putting together my more important possessions, but it takes time, you understand.
Shall I get the room ready, or shall I pack the valise?
Pack and get the room ready.
All right. I'll just put in a shirt and one or two other things.
I would never have thought that it would end like this. Is it really essential that you should leave house and home?
What do you expect me to do, then? I'm not made for unhappiness, Gregors. Everything around me must be nice and secure and peaceful.
Can't that be done? Try. To my mind, you have a firm foundation to build on. Just begin at the beginning. Remember, you have your invention to look forward to.
Oh, shut up about that invention. That's probably pretty far away.
Really?
Oh, good Lord, what do you expect me to invent? I mean, practically everything's been invented already by other people. It gets more and more difficult every day.
After you put such a lot of work into it.
It was that devil Relling who first put me up to it.
Relling?
Yes. He was the one who first gave me the impression that I was capable of inventing something special in photography.
Ah, it was Relling.
It's a thing that's made me intensely happy, not so much because of the invention itself, but because Hedvig believed in it with all the passion of a child. That is to say that I, like a fool, went and imagined that she believed in it.
And you really suppose that Hedvig went out of her way to deceive you?
How do I know? I'm ready to believe anything now. Hedvig's the stumbling block now. She'll finish up taking all the sunshine out of my life.
Hedwig? Do you mean Hedwig? Oh, she'd never do such a thing.
I can't tell you how much I love that child. I can't tell you how happy I felt every time I came home to my modest little room and she'd come running across to me with her poor, sweet, strained little eyes. Oh, gullible fool that I was. I was so inexpressibly fond of her, and I deluded myself. And she was equally fond of me, too.
Can you say that was merely a delusion?
How do I know? I can't get anything out of Gina. And anyway, she has absolutely no understanding of the element of idealism in this situation. But I feel the need to unburden myself to you, Gregors. There's this terrible uncertainty that perhaps Hedwig never really loved me at all.
That is something you might well get proof of.
Oh?
What's that? I thought I heard the wild duck cry.
That's the wild duck quacking. Father's in the loft.
Is he? What I was saying was that you might well get proof that poor misunderstood Hedwig does love you.
Suppose those others came to her with their hands full and they cried to the child, "Hedwig, come away from him. With us. Life is at your feet."
Well, what then do you suppose?
And I then said to her, "Hedwig, are you willing to give up this life for my sake?" Oh, yes, I must say. You'd soon hear the sort of answer I'd get.
Hjalmar!
Look at that now. He must go shooting.
Hjalmar! Grandfather's shooting by himself in the loft again.
I'll look in.
No, wait a minute. Do you know what that was?
Of course I know what that was.
No, you don't. But I do. That was the proof.
What proof?
That was the child's sacrifice. She's got your father to shoot the wild duck.
Shoot the wild duck? Why?
She wanted to sacrifice the most precious thing she had in the world for your sake. She thought that way you couldn't help loving her again.
Oh, that child.
The things she thinks of.
All she wanted was that you should love her again, Hjalmar. She didn't think she could live without that.
Here you are, you see, Hjalmar?
Where's she, Gina?
Sitting out in the kitchen, I expect.
Oh. Hedwig, come out! Come to me! Oh, she's not there.
Well, then she must be in her own little room. No, she's not there.
Oh, she must have gone out.
Well, you wouldn't have her anywhere in the house.
Oh, I hope she comes back soon so as I can tell her properly everything's going to be all right, Gregors. I really do believe we can start life all over again.
I knew it. New redemption would come through the child.
Father? Father, what are you doing in there?
Have you been shooting in your room, Father?
Why did you go shooting alone, Hjalmar?
Wasn't it you who fired that shot in the loft?
Shooting me.
She shot the wild duck herself.
What's this?
Dear God.
Hedwig! She's lying on the floor!
Hedwig! Oh, no!
She's done shooting too, has she?
The pistol's gone off. She's been shot. Call for help. Help!
Relling! Relling! Dr. Relling! Come up as fast as you can!
The forest revenge.
She'll come round soon. She'll come round.
Where's she been shot? I can't see anything.
What's going on here?
They say Hedwig has shot herself.
Come here and help.
Shot herself?
Can't be anything serious, eh, Relling? She's hardly bleeding. It can't be anything serious.
How did this happen?
Oh, how do I know?
She wanted to shoot the wild duck.
The wild duck.
The pistol must have gone off.
Indeed.
Revenge of the forest. Still, I'm not afraid.
Oh, Relling? Why don't you say something?
The bullet hit her in the breast.
But she'll come round.
Can't you see Hedwig is dead?
Oh, my poor little one.
On the bed of the ocean.
No. She must live, for God's sake, Relling, just for a moment. Long enough for me to tell her how infinitely I loved her all the time.
She was hit in the heart. Internal hemorrhage. She died instantaneously.
And I drove her from me like some animal. And in terror she crept into the loft and died for love of me. I shall never be able to make it up to her, never be able to tell her that... O God on high, if thou art there, why hast thou done this to me?
Yalma, you mustn't say such dreadful things. I dare say we didn't deserve to keep her.
The child is not dead, but sleepeth.
Shut up. Rubbish.
There she lies, stiff and still.
It's so tight. So tight.
Please, Relling, don't force her little fingers. And the pistol lie there.
She can take it with her.
She mustn't lie out here in front of everybody. She should go into her own little room. Help me with her, Yalma.
Oh, Gina. Can you bear this?
We must help one another. But now she's as much yours as mine, isn't she?
Praise be the Lord. Earth to earth, earth to earth.
Shut up, Molly. Shut up. Nobody's ever going to persuade me this was an accident.
Nobody can say how this dreadful thing happened.
There was a powder burn on her dress. She must have pressed the pistol right against her breast and fired.
Hedvig has not died in vain. Didn't you see how grief brought out all that was noblest in him?
Most people feel some nobility when they stand grieving in the presence of death, but how long do you suppose this glory will last in his case?
Surely it will continue and flourish for the rest of his life.
Give him 9 months, and little Hedvig will be nothing more than the theme of a pretty little party piece.
How dare you say that about Hjalmar Ekdal?
We can discuss it again when the first grass starts showing on her grave. Then he'll bring it all up, all about the child so untimely torn from a loving father's heart. Then you'll see him wallowing deeper and deeper in sentimentality and self-pity. Just you watch.
If you're right and I'm wrong, life will no longer be worth living.
Oh, life wouldn't be too bad if only these blessed people who come canvassing their ideals round everybody's door would leave us poor souls in peace.
In that case, I'm glad my destiny is what it is.
If I may ask, what is your destiny?
To be 13th at table.
The devil it is.